Burton and I'm an aeromodeller and an engineer. Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale aeromodelling. So here we are again, modelers. Just a little video that I was going to make in response to a couple of questions that appeared on, or comments that appeared on the YouTube channel. Basically, it's to do with the way tissue is applied. And as you can see here, this is the silver coated tissue that I was trying to apply. And because it's not porous, because it's got this printed silver finish on the top, because it's not porous, I can't apply the tissue the way you see in the video, and that is to let the dope soak through it using this tissue, which, as you can see, is quite porous. Okay, so I can't do it that way. Now, the way that modelers do this is they stick the tissue down dry. Now, I've never really got on with that. However, the only way to make this silver tissue work, and tissues like a sake, which is a very, very fine tissue and again is not porous, is to glue it down dry and then shrink it with steam or water and do it that way. There's also conflicting opinion as to whether or not you glue it down shiny side up or shiny side down. I have heard, and this is from very well respected free flight modelers that do know what they're doing, so I don't think either is right or either is wrong. I think it's just what you prefer. I have heard from one modeler, a good friend, who said that for areas like aluminium finish, then you use the silver side up, the shiny side up. But then for areas that are doped, like the wings of our chipmunk, you apply the tissue shiny side down, and it gives a nice differing finish to the surface. So what I thought I'd do was I'd make another tailplane for our chipmunk, because this one, as I said on the video, I've made this trailing edge too thin and it's warping. It's not warping, it's the tissue is pulling it in and shrinking it. And I said I was going to use banana oil, and that's still may be the case. But I thought what I'd do, just for a bit of an exercise and to satisfy myself, was I'll make another tailplane with a thicker trailing edge section, and we'll try and cover it in that silver again. We'll give it another go, but this time we'll glue it on. And what I'm going to use is this, which is Deluxe Materials tissue paste. Now, a lot of my friends have suggested 50-50 water PVA mix, but this one has also been recommended, so I'm going to give it a try, and we'll see how we get on. I don't hold out much hope, and I love doing tissue the way I do it, so you know, why break the habits of a lifetime? So what I'm going to do is build a tailplane, and we'll try and cover it. So because I want to make this trailing edge of the tailplane of a thicker wood, I'm going to need to splice two bits of scrap that I have lying around. So the way I do it is I give it a generous overlap, sort of like that. And then I'll find a pen, which is easier said than done on this bench. We're getting into the land of pain again with untidiness. Right, and then there's two little marks on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand at 45 degrees to that one. In fact, I'm going to cut it first because I may as well. So that one is going to be cut from there to there, to my pencil mark. And then this one will also be cut from there to my pencil mark, which is there and there, just roughly for now. And then we take our sanding block and we get it exactly to the line. Join those two together and we should have a nice even spline or splice. Now remember, I don't like to put pins through sections that are load bearing. So I put it either side of the wood, but then at the ends here it's actually going to be cut off, so it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, then for this bit here, I'm just going to do a section like that. Just sand it roughly to shape and then drop it in there. What's that? Oh, there was a longer piece there that I could have used without chopping it. Never mind. Now you can argue in the rules that you've had to beef it up to make the structure suitable for RC, and that is allowed, but I think what I've done here is probably not really allowed, because I've beefed it up a little bit more than the plans allow. I can beef this up without any problems, but these leading edge and these sections here are possibly, you know, beefed up a bit too much. And this glue's really not setting. Somebody suggested in the comments of one video that you should store your super glue in the fridge to make it last a lot longer. I'm struggling with that because I don't want to be going to the fridge every time I want a bottle of glue. But and it was a few years ago that you know, this stuff used to last me 6 months, no problem. But nowadays, it's not so good. The only thing that actually is sticking to the super glue are my fingers. So that bond is still not making, still not setting. What we got? Well, that's done it, but you shouldn't have to use a kicker every time you want the glue to go off. Anyway, let's keep going. I've had a comment about putting music in the background to my videos, and I can tell you why I do that. Some people have complained that they don't, they prefer me to talk through the video and impart words of wisdom. If only that were true. But the reason I do it is because quite often in the workshop here I have the radio on or the television on, so I'm just sort of listening to it. I'm a big fan of the motorbike racing and football, and I quite often have those on in the background. And the issue is I can't let any of that become part of the recording, this YouTube recording, because of copyright rules. So that's why the music is overplayed, or put over the top of the video. So sorry about that. But, I'll try and improve. Right, so we're getting there. A couple more to do. Okay, so there we have, more or less got the structure that we want. So what I'm just going to do is just nip the ends off those. I'll sand them to be flush. And there we have our tailplane. That's nice and straight. That's good. I'm just going to sand the tips so they're true. This will give us plenty of meat on the trailing edge here for hinges, and so that the tissue doesn't actually compress the balsa. So first of all, we've got to do some sanding on this. This is often where you break the the structure. The block catches on something and it snaps it. It's pretty normal. So if you angle the block so that it's not an edge that's going to catch it, but it's at a chamfer, sort of an angle, then you're less likely to catch the structure. I'm not saying you won't, but it's a little bit safer to sand like this. So that's that side done. Now this side tends to end up with a sort of a shiny area around the joints, and this is because of the glue and the plastic sheet that you're building on tends to sort of mould the glue joint, or the surface of the glue, to the shininess of the plastic. Probably can't see it in the video, but it is a nice smooth shiny surface, and because it's CA it's quite hard. Now I think this tailplane is actually thicker than the one on the model. No, it's about the same. Okay, but what I did find on the model, that the gap at the rear of the fuselage, where the tailplane has to slide, is quite narrow, and for the other tailplane, which is a little bit thinner than this, it fits, but for this one I think, no, it's gone in all right. I was thinking we might have to sand this away to make a little bit more space, but it's gone in okay. So that's good. So now we need to radius the leading edge, and that's probably all we need to do on this. So I'll put it on the edge of the building table like this, and do it like, just take the edge off it like that. And it's broken again. This is what happens all the time. So let's just pop that back together. Now what we have to do now, this is thinners, that's low tautening dope, what we need. Right, what we need is some sanding sealer. As I said in the previous video, this is simply dope with some talc mixed in. Where's my paintbrush gone? Places a tip. There's my paintbrush right in front of my flipping eyes. So all I'm going to do is just put some sanding sealer over the airframe, and this seals the wood and stops it lifting when you put water onto the tissue. You don't want the wood grain to lift, which is what it will do when it gets wet. So I'm just sealing the wood. It also gives a base for when you sand it with some 600 grit. It really polishes, well, not polishes it, but it really creates a lovely smooth finish. And that's what you need for when you're putting the tissue on, because you don't want any ridges or anything to show through under the tissue. As with most doping applications, most of the material you put on evaporates off. This mix here is 50-50 dope and thinners, so at least 50% is thinners, and the dope itself contains solvents that evaporate out anyway. I'll be glad to get back to the big Chipmunk actually, and we can get on with some I think we're looking at doing the wing next. Should be good. Right, there we go. Give that 10 minutes to set, and then we'll sand it down, get it smooth, and I think it's a golden opportunity to go and make a coffee. We're back with a steaming hot latte. So this is it's all nice and dry now, and you can just feel it. It's just got a little bit of a surface roughness to it, and that's the sanding sealer, the talc in the sanding sealer. This is 600 grit, wet and dry, used dry. And it breaks again. Of course, every time it breaks, you've got to sand it again. Certainly don't get this with the bigger models. You're constantly breaking it just by holding it, but it's a fact of life with these little indoor models. I'm just going to let that soak in a bit before I attack it. Because it's had sanding sealer on it, it's sealed the wood a little bit, so the glue doesn't want to soak in quite so well. So the next step is we're going to try and attach this silver tissue, which we had no luck with previously. So let's cut ourselves another section. And there's no way to avoid, well, there is actually, you could do it in two halves, but I'm going to try and do it in one piece. See how we get on. So I'm going to put it on dry, and I'm going to put it on, I don't know, should we try this shiny side up or shiny side down? No, we'll try it shiny side up. Let's see how we get on. So where's this tissue paste? Let's see what this is like. Here we go. So let's put some of this tissue paste all the way along the outside of the airplane. And I'm only going to use it on the outside edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to smear it with my finger. And I'm going to smear it right over the leading edge as well, and around the corner. Like that. And along the rear edge. Shiny side up. Stretch it out as flat as we can, and then pull it with some tension and stick it down. It's going wrinkly along the edges. I've no idea whether that's normal, but that's what it's doing. It's still able to be pulled and moved, so I'm going to keep pulling the edges like that and try and remove as many of these wrinkles that are forming as I can. Now what I'm going to do is going to trim around the edge and see if we can get the edges to seal and wrap round. So I'm afraid the camera died and I lost the last bit of that recording. But as you can see, I've applied it all around the edges, and it's horrible stuff. It goes incredibly sticky, and you've just got to try and it's still sticky now. If I just touch it along the edges, it sticks to you. It's horrible. So, but it's on, and what I'm going to do now is give it 20 minutes to dry, half an hour to dry fully, and then we'll try putting some water on it and see if we can shrink it. because at the moment it's not very taut and it has wrinkles and all sorts of things. But the wrinkles around the edge of the first piece I put on, as it's drying, and it's not dry yet, the wrinkles are disappearing. So let's give it a chance, shall we? All right, so we'll be back in half an hour. Some of the wrinkles came out, and I mean, some people might think it's adequate, but I don't, and there's very little tension in it, and I'm not very happy with it. What I did do was I sprayed a coat of 50/50 dope and thinners on this, and as you can see, what it did was it took the silver gloss and made it very matte. It was dry, so it shouldn't have been blooming. You know, that shouldn't be a moisture bloom. So it's really just made it a grey. But what you're probably not seeing, it doesn't show up very well on the cameras, is there's a lot of wrinkling along the edge of the tissue, which I don't get when I put it on wet and use dope. I'm just not happy with it. I'm going to stick to the way I know. You know, I've given this a bit of a try. I suppose if I watch a few more videos, I could figure it out. But yeah, I don't really do free flight. This is a sort of a busman's holiday to do one of these little RC indoor scale models, and I don't really want to invest a great deal of time into learning a new technique. That's not worked very well at all, I don't think. I would rather use the tea bag tissue that I'm used to, get a lovely surface and a nice finish, and then spray it and just accept the loss of points with spraying it. Anyway, there we go. It was an interesting exercise, and thanks for all the comments about, you know, doing this and how you do it. I think this craft paper, the silver craft paper, is probably not a good idea. Others have said silver is notoriously bad, so it could well be if I was using any other sort of paper, or, you know, a decent tissue or something, then this might have gone a lot better. But there we go. Interesting exercise. Anyway, click like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.